I'm getting ready to unclamp the glue up that I did at the beginning of the build video for these clamps. I actually did this glue up after I built the clamps, of course, because I couldn't clamp it up if I didn't have the clamps. And I did that kind of quickly. I just came out here and I cut the boards to length and I set them up here on the clamps and I spread the glue out and I clamped them up. And the one thing that I didn't do was normally when I do that with regular wood glue in the winter is I bring that inside my house where it's warmer. And I didn't do that in this circumstance. I left the temperature as it is right now at 5 degrees Celsius, which is what my thermostat is set to. And I figured this would be a reasonable test for the cold weather, I guess you could say, settability of this type of glue. Now the glue that I'm using, or I used here, is just regular yellow carpenter's glue. That's what it's called. And the brand that I use, or I've been using for the past little while, is this one here. This is not available at retail. However, and this is important, and this is probably one of the things that most people should take away from this video, is that this is pretty much a standard formula across the board. If you're going with something that's branded, you're basically getting the same thing from each manufacturer. I don't think that there is a significant difference. Now, as for what this consists of, this is basically the white stuff, the white PVA glue, and it has aliphatic resin added to it. And what the aliphatic resin does is it makes the final glue, after it sets, harder, and it also makes it a bit stickier. Like when you go to clamp up the parts, they won't be as slippery as the white stuff is. And that's really the only difference. This is just marginally stronger than the white, but for every project or woodworking project that you want to do, drying at regular room temperature, that is, white PVA glue will work just as well as this. So, what else can I say? I can read what it says on the application notes here. And the important thing, it says, apply adhesive and let dry at temperature of 15 degrees Celsius or 59 degrees Fahrenheit. And it definitely wasn't that in here. It was 5 degrees Celsius. However, when I look at the glue up here, I see that the glue didn't go chalky like it normally will in low temperature. I've used glue before, especially the white glue. I think this is more of a problem with the white glue. It will kind of go chalky, and the chalkiness kind of represents to me, in my thinking anyway, as some weakening. So I'm going to take the clamps off here. The other reason for this video was to kind of talk a little bit about squeeze out on the bars themselves. Now the ones on the bottom down here, all 6 clamps actually have 2 coats of polyurethane on the entire bar. And I was especially careful to get it in the notches up here as well. However, the ones on the bottom, the 3 that are down there, have a coat of paste wax as well. I put those on before I put the thing together. All I did was I just put it in the area where I was going to use it. The thing about these clamps is if you're not careful about pushing that all the way in when you slide it forwards and back, is the latch plate will rub off some of the finish, so you might have to reapply it every once in a while. But that's not a big deal. So, like I said, I put the clamp back like so. I got my paste wax here, which is nothing special. It's just an ordinary type of paste wax you get for furniture, and I got some on the rag here, and then I wiped it in like so, and then went across the notches like this. I didn't bother, waiting until it dried and buff it out or anything like that. I'm just getting a layer of wax on here basically, and I'm only concerned really with the top here. I'm not getting any on the side. So got that on there. I'm trying to do this video all in one take, by the way, so I might edit some of this. Okay, so that's the waxing procedure right there, and it has no effect on how the clamp works. The good thing about this clamp is how rapidly you can adjust it, and it will latch into the nearest notch like that. And you know, the space between the knots is just 3/4 of an inch, so you don't have to spend forever cranking this handle here to make adjustments. The notches, of course, can be further apart, and that'll save some time while building it. And they can also, I don't know if they can be a little bit closer together, maybe a 1/2 inch. The problem with making them too close is that you don't have enough substance between the notches to support the forces here. Even though the forces that are acting here is kind of pushing this plate downwards as well as backwards. So enough of that. I'm gonna take the clamps off of this and we'll have a look. Nothing on this first one, which is a good sign. Got a little bit of squeeze out sticking on this second one, and it's on the clamps there. I remember that I didn't wax the ones on top. And nothing at all sticking on the bottom here. The bars are absolutely clean. What I'm getting ready to do here is very far from scientific, but it kind of answers my questions, and it might answer some of yours. I get comments a lot on the strength of glue, and it's usually from people that don't have much experience, and that's just the way it is. And of course, everybody's the same when they start out. They see this stuff and they don't know how strong it is. The general rule is that this type of glue here is much stronger. The joint that it produces is much stronger than the base wood itself. And that goes for any type of wood. The wood itself will break before the joint does. And so that means that the glue itself is actually stronger than it really needs to be. I mean, if it equaled the strength of the wood, that would be enough. Now, the advantages of either one, and I use them for different applications. It's not just for out here in the shop when it's cold. I use this when there's going to be some gap that this glue will not deal with, because this glue goes on fairly thin, well, way thinner than this, but as it dries, it also shrinks. So if there is a gap there, what happens is if you don't have enough glue in there, the glue will shrink away from one side or the other and leave a gap in between. And that's one of the reasons why I use this, this type of glue here in that bridle joint that I made in those clamps there. Because if there was a very small gap there, this glue will bridge it, whereas that one may not. I'm not saying it won't, I'm saying it may not. I rely on this more than that for that type of thing. Also, for end grain, which is one part of the bridle joint, to face grain, the bond is stronger with this glue. I found that in the past. Anyway, that's not to say that it can't be stronger with that glue. It's just my experience that overall, this gives me better results for that type of a joint. So anyway, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna try to break this panel. I'm gonna be using my old bar clamps for this, and I've got one stuck in the table saw here. And the objective is to break this and see where it breaks. Whether it's going to break on the glue joint or whether it's going to break on the wood itself. And I'm doing this because, okay, this is a very unscientific test, but it'll let me know just how strong that glue joint is. And the next time I'm out here in the shop and I'm gluing something up and I want to use this type of glue because it sets faster, I'll be able to use it. Even though it says not to use it at this low temperature, I'll be able to do that. So without further ado, let's get this clamped in here. And the concept is to get the other clamp on the other side over here, facing the other way, and then I can bend it. The other way to try to break this is to put it across 2 blocks and then push on the center, but that's not the kind of forces that I want to see on this. I want to see this type of force where there's no point load. It's all on the edge here, applying this, you know, this type of pressure. Okay, tighten this up, get that lined up, and maybe I should move the camera in. No, I'll leave the camera where it is. You guys can see just fine. So, I can hear cracking already with very little force. Right there. I knew that it would probably break here because I'll show you on the back. Wow, the wood is kind of messed up there anyway. So when I look at it, it broke completely in the wood. There's no place there where the glue joint itself broke. So that's good. And that's not unexpected actually. Because like I said, this glue is stronger than it actually needs to be by a wide margin. So I tried another break here. And the parts that I'm breaking now are stronger. There's no crappy wood there. Once again, it broke on the wood only, not even close to the glue joint this time. So you can kind of get the picture here where this is going. I'm going to do one more break just because I can. I'm making firewood here. Now if I had a wood stove to burn this in, I'd be, you know, in the money. Okay. Yeah. Here, let's go again. Just because I can. Yeah, it breaks everywhere except on the glue joint. It's always the wood. So that wraps this one up, I guess. And I hope it was informative for some of you out there. You know, newcomers and veterans alike to woodworking, because with regards to thinking about glue, the ideas are somewhat ingrained, and some of them go back to a time when wood glue really wasn't what it is today. Wood glue today is like super, super strong, and it's something that you can rely on more than the wood itself, as demonstrated here, for most every type of joint, even if your shop is only heated to 5 degrees.